Welcome to Life Expressions. I'm your host, Chari Hineta Elon. In this podcast, we share stories and insights that inspire us to live with purpose and impact. In celebration of International Women's Day, we are honored to welcome a remarkable leader who has dedicated her work to empowering women around the world. Our guest today is Sheena Yap Chan, Wall Street Journal, best-selling author, TEDx speaker on confidence, visibility, and leadership. She's the author of the two powerful books, Bridging the Confidence Gap and The Tao of Self-Confidence. Today, we'll explore how women can overcome self-doubt, step into visibility, and harness confidence, not only to transform their own lives, but to create meaningful change in the world. Because they say, when women rise in confidence, communities rise. Hi, Sheena.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. Super excited to be here today.
Thank you so much for taking time to be with me on Life Expressions. Sheena, please share with us your journey. You're dedicated to helping women, their confidence and visibility. What inspired you to do this?
I think everything really started with, just my upbringing. I moved to Toronto from the Philippines when I was 7. And even though the Toronto is a very multicultural city, it wasn't really represented in the media. I never saw anybody in TV or TV shows or magazines of women that looked like me. So I was always ashamed of who I was, my background, my culture. And so I never want anyone else to feel that way. And so I started with my podcast, The Tao of Self Confidence, where I've interviewed over 800 women on this topic and has gone beyond that, of course, writing 2 books, being able to speak at TEDx, being able to do workshops, being able to help women overcome visibility, especially in Asian culture. To, we're always taught to stay in the background, never make any noise and do as you're told. And that really hurts us. And if we're not seen in leadership roles, we're not, it's the same thing all over again, right? I mean, yes, March is Women's Month. March 8th is International Women's Day. It's great that we've been able to accomplish so much, but we still have a lot more to go, unfortunately. Sometimes progress looks like 1 step forward, 5 steps back.
Yeah.
And, it takes a lot of, you know, moving forward even when times are tough. And even though the world's a little bit chaotic right now, we need to do this work more than ever. So yes, it's great to celebrate, but we also have to realize we still have a long, long way to go. And for me, being visible is important. And visibility is not about being everywhere. It's about being in front of the right people, the right spaces, the right decision makers to get you to move up. And I've also created a framework, the visible framework, where I've taught in different industries, different conferences, corporate settings. Because for me, when you are able to show up and be in front of the right people, that's when the opportunities rises.
Yeah, that is great. I like the point that you made that you do not have to be visible everywhere, but make sure that you know where you show up. How do you know where is the right place and platform to show up?
I think it depends on, what your intentions are, what your goals are, right? Like if you want to be great at real estate, then you show up in the spaces where real estate is needed, or you show up in spaces where people need homes or people need advice. It all depends on the problems that you want to solve. So getting clear, being able to write down your goals and figuring out where can I go and do that, right? Can I go
Yeah.
speak at different real estate conferences? Can I go and speak at different real estate podcasts, magazines, media, right? It's just an example. Or like maybe you like to talk about avocados, like where do you show up, right?
Yeah.
People who are healthy, people who like, plant-based food, things like that. So it's being very intentional and everything else will follow. Sometimes I think people fear that when they're more intentional, like they lose out on a lot of things, but it's not the case. Like, you want to be able to go to the right people, the right decision makers to get to the next level. And sometimes you might have to try things out, right? Test things out, see what works, what doesn't work, and everything's either a blessing or a lesson. So, um,
You've mentioned earlier that some women really hesitate to speak up, right? Especially in Asian culture, Asian women. Yeah, we were taught like, okay, keep quiet, do not ask too many questions, you don't want to offend people, etc. Many women like us have incredible ideas and talents, yet we hesitate to speak up. From your experience, what holds women back from using their voice, and how can they begin to find the courage to speak and be seen?
yeah, this is why I wrote my latest book, Bridging the Confidence Gap, because there's a gap between how capable we are versus how capable we feel. And I think part of the reason why women hesitate is really because of how we perceive ourselves. We don't think we're good enough. There's someone better out there. We're too old. We're too young. We're too this. We're too that. There's so much restrictions we put on ourselves. And of course, there's still systemic barriers, cultural barriers that we go through. But
True.
if you don't believe in yourself, if you don't put yourself out there, you're not going to get the opportunities. And a lot of women have low self confidence due to inaction. So we could be 110% ready, but sometimes something still holds us back. So we need to learn how can we move forward instead of holding us back. Imposter syndrome's very prevalent, more prevalent for women than men. In fact, there was a report that mentioned 74% of women in the workforce deal with imposter syndrome. So that's a
Yeah.
lot. And when we can learn to look at imposter syndrome as something positive versus something negative, it'll be a lot easier and a lot lighter to move forward. Because for me, when you're going through moments of self doubt, not feeling good enough, questioning yourself, it's really just a sign that you're meant to move to the next level. And so it's going to feel weird. It's going to feel uncomfortable. It's not going to be like rainbows and butterflies because you're going to unknown territory. And
Yes.
sometimes we have to embrace the unknown, which is something we're not taught in Asian culture. We're taught stability, but really, what is stability nowadays, right? Like, even if you have the best education, you know, you could still get laid off. So really it all, you have to learn to embrace uncertainty in times like, one moment everything could be great and the next day you wake up and like, the world's a hot mess. So we have to learn to kind of move along what's going on and so we can embrace it, prepare, pivot and move forward with success.
I like that. Women should pivot and move forward, like whatever the circumstances around us. I would also like to touch on the uncomfortability. Women tend to be uncomfortable in spaces that they are not so familiar with, like success. Women feel pressured to meet society's expectations, like in career, family, or leadership. We always have to be the one to make adjustments. How can we begin defining success on our own terms rather than living to other people's expectations?
Yeah, I think for me, success is living life on your own terms, whatever that may look like. Like if you just want to have a business so you could go to Costco on a Wednesday, that's success.
Yeah.
Because going to Costco on the weekend is terrible. It's a madhouse. Or if you wanna live in a hut in the middle of the island, like, that's fine, right? There's people who've quit their corporate jobs to have more simpler jobs, and yet they're so much happier. And so really success is living life on your terms, regardless of any judgment. And I know that's easier said than done, especially in Asian culture. We're not taught to do that, right? We've always been taught success is the fancy cars, a fancy house, fancy this, fancy that. But, that's just temporary. It's all materialistic. That goes away really quickly. If you don't have any fulfillment in your life, it's just noise. So I think also having fulfillment in your life is really important. And yeah, I mean, I for me, I think it's important to redefine what success looks like on your terms, especially with Women's Month. What does that look like? Does it mean just wanting to spend more time with your kids? That's fine. Like, does that mean just, again, simply just going to Costco on a Wednesday? That's totally fine as well. Being able to have slow mornings. Well, like sometimes it's those simple things that really is success, right?
Yeah.
I know sometimes we try to chase things, especially on social media, and it can look very feel like we have to do everything because we see other people doing it. We tend to compare. But, sometimes social media, what you see on social media is not always the absolute truth. You have to understand, like, things are heavily edited, especially like seeing curated, like perfect curated photos on Instagram. We don't even know what goes behind closed doors. So, this is why it's important to just live life on your terms and be okay with it and not have to worry what other people think. As easier said than done.
Yeah. But how do you do that? How do you live your own story and own life at your own terms and define success at your own terms?
I think you have to unlearn a lot of things, especially in Asian culture. We were brought up a certain way. We were told to live a certain way. So we have to unlearn all the things we've been taught that doesn't serve us, right?
Yes.
And once we can unlearn those things, we can find new ways to learn. Well, we can actually live life this way. We could live life that way. And you don't have to do everything alone. It's the reason why I have books, I have podcasts. So, whoever's listening, they can listen to different ways of how women were able to overcome their own confidence issues to live life on their terms. And, when they can hear other women's stories, they realize, oh, it's possible for me as well because she went through a similar situation as me and was able to overcome it.
I like that. Your work, Sheena, emphasizes on visibility, confidence through visibility,
Oh,
correct?
movement. So I teach a framework that helps you through that. It's called the Visible Framework. It's a path to leadership. It has 7 pillars, and each pillar comes from the word visible. So V is for voice, I is for identity, S is for spotlight, I is for inner work, B is for belief, L is for leverage, and E is for elevation. And all those are needed to move forward, right? Doing the inner and outer work, being able to put yourself out there, speak your voice, especially when it comes to women, like self-promotion is something we're not taught to do, being in the spotlight. And it is important to share your achievements. For so long we've been taught that if you work hard, the results would speak for itself. That's not the case. If you work hard and you don't say anything, you're just seen as a hard worker. And my biggest fear is that you put in all the work, you don't share your achievements, someone else will take credit for what you've done. So it is important to share what you've accomplished so that people can see what you've done. It opens to other opportunities instead of someone else taking your credit and they get the opportunities. Like, especially when it comes to speaking, so many women want to speak, but are
Yeah.
afraid because they think they're not qualified, they're not good enough. And to be honest, and this is not knocking anybody, but some of the people I see speak stage aren't really the most qualified, to be honest. They're not that, I'm not saying they're not that great, but like, they're definitely not like, oh, they're like the best speakers in the world, but they're willing to put themselves out there, right? They're
Yeah.
willing to apply, ask for those opportunities. And then we're left in the dark because we're always so afraid to put ourselves out there. So I've also created, an ecosystem. I call it In the Room, where you get curated speaking opportunities so that you don't have to figure out where do you get these, right? It's done for you. And then you go out there and start applying. Because for me, speaking is still a great way to build an audience, to build trust, to
Yeah.
build your lists, to get in front of the right people, convert them into sales, right? It beats any algorithm. And especially in the world of AI, people are craving more for human connection, right? They want more human connection. I think in person events, whether virtual or physical, will be more prevalent now that, there's so much AI going on. People get sick of it, right? They get sick of seeing like these deep fakes and they just want real human connection where they can connect, network, collaborate. And so for me, speaking is a great way to do that. Whether it's on a podcast like this, whether it's on stage, whether it's in a virtual setting, it's a great way to connect with your audience. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. That's great. How can one get into your framework? Is it available in the book?
The framework, I do have links that I can share later on where you can sign up for the in the room ecosystem where you can get the curated lists. I have a free toolkit for the visible framework that you can check out as well. And then if anyone's looking for one-on-one like consulting, things like that, I also have that as well.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's what we need, especially for women leaders, right? Who are just trying to figure it out. But there are also women, Sheena, who feel uncomfortable with attention or visibility. Even if it's needed for a woman leader, they are just uncomfortable. What are the practical steps they can take to step into the spotlight, with purpose, presence, and confidence?
Yeah, I mean, I still get uncomfortable as well. Don't get me wrong. I don't really care to be in the spotlight. I do it because it's important. It's not just about me. It's about every other woman out there who still feel like they need permission or who still second guess themselves. So when they see me putting myself out there, it helps them be okay with putting themselves out there. So it's all about leading by example. So when you have a bigger purpose, when it's more than just you, you're more willing to do it. That's
True.
how I see it, even when it's uncomfortable. Like, don't get me wrong, if I didn't have to promote myself, I wouldn't. But I
Yeah.
understand if I don't promote myself, nobody knows who I am. And so this is why I do it, so that they can see who I am. Other people can see who I am. Other people can follow suit when they see me promoting, sharing, doing what I do.
It's important because it's not just about you, it's about your community as well, right?
Yeah.
Because you share your story, you share the good that you do, and you encourage others as well.
Yeah.
Sheena, for the mindset shift, confidence always starts in the mind. What mindset shifts have you seen transform the way women lead and, become leaders?
I think it's important to let go of perfection, right?
Mm.
Especially in Asian culture, we've always taught to be perfect in every single way possible. And that's not the case, right? Like there's no such thing as perfection. We have to learn to just show up imperfect because there's nothing wrong with that. The more you're able to take imperfect action, the more results you get. So like in the book, I talk about this strategy of ready, fire, aim. Start before you're ready, take action, and course correct as you go. And the more you keep doing that, the more results that you get. Because it's not going to be perfect. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to fall down, and that's totally okay. Even some of the most successful people in the world that you see online or you look up to, they've had their fair share of mistakes, but didn't stop them from getting to that end goal. And men do it all the time. Half the time, they don't really know what they're doing. They just do it, right? They say they'll do it and figure it out. And if we have that mindset shift where we'll say, you know what, I don't know what I'm going to do or how I'm going to get there. I just know I will get there. I know I'm more than qualified to figure this out and I'll find a way. So
Yeah.
when you're doubting yourself, like even me, when I doubt myself, I always tell myself, I will figure this out. Like even if I'm frustrated, I'll say I'll figure this out, right? And the more we keep doing that, the more we can find ways to make what we need happen. And so for me, that's a huge mindset shift. Like, I realize I can make mistakes and it's okay. It's not the end of the world. I know in school we've been taught if you make a mistake, it's a bad thing. But in the real world, it's not always the case, right? Sometimes your greatest opportunities will come from your mistakes. And especially if you're an entrepreneur, you're gonna go through struggles, you're gonna go through like problems, right? And that's okay because you have to learn to go through these problems so you can feel what a potential client is feeling and you are that solution, right? You can say, I've been where you've been and I found a way and I can help you get there as well, right?
Yeah.
Because then they can trust you. They can't trust someone who's perfect because it doesn't make sense, right?
True.
There's a reason why reality TV shows are so popular because they're all a hot mess in there, right? They all just like do what they do. They show up as who they are, the good, bad, and the ugly, and people gravitate to it. That's why there's still so many reality TV shows until now because of that authenticity. And
Yeah.
also, like in this world of rising AI, people will crave more authenticity, right? Because
Yeah.
they're sick. They're gonna get sick of seeing all these different AI videos and deep fakes and all those things. People want authenticity. They want to see a real person, right? See the good, bad, the ugly, see them for who they are, being okay with vulnerability, being okay with sharing their stories. I think this is the perfect moment. And like, yes, AI is on the rise, people fear jobs might be lost, and I get it, right? AI will replace a lot of things, but AI will also create new opportunities. And if you see the number of new opportunities versus the opportunities that are cut, there's still a surplus, right? Like the internet was the same case, right? Like it was new technology. We didn't know anything about it, but it has created so many opportunities for people, right? Being able to speak from the comfort of your own home to different parts of the world and being able to connect. And so there's so many opportunities out there. And when you see things from um a mind of abundance versus lack, like
Yes.
literally the world's your oyster. So yeah, I don't know if that answered your question. I could.
Definitely did. I would like to emphasize the mindset shift that you have shared. Ready, fire, aim. Because sometimes when we ready, aim, fire, we never
Yeah, we
fire.
keep aiming. We keep aiming. What are we aiming for?
Exactly. So you gotta just do it. And when you make mistakes, what's important for me as well is owning up to that
Yeah.
mistake. You have to own it, right? And then learn from the mistakes. It's not just you keep on doing the same mistakes and that you're not growing. But for us, we have to be courageous, to ready, fire, aim, and then just keep on adjusting as you do it and you get better at it. That's why we have experience. And I'd also like to emphasize authenticity. I truly agree with that. And I like it that you advocate that as well for women, right? Because it's good to be authentic. We do not have to be perfect.
Yeah, and especially, at a certain age, right? A lot of people think, or, we've been taught that if you've hit a certain age, if you're 40 and over, like life is over. That's not the case, right? Life is not over. You can literally start at any given moment. It doesn't matter what age you are. You're not expired. And I think we need to let that go as well, knowing that you can embrace your age, you can still live a full life. You can still accomplish many things. You can start a new business at any age. Like we've seen women entrepreneurs who started empires in their 40s, 50s, and 60s and still thrive. And so
Yeah.
the more we can advocate for that and share more of that, the more women will be inspired to take that action.
Yeah, I like that. Sheena, you have interviewed more than 800 women. What are the common denominators on those women, and what have you learned from those interviews?
Yeah, I've realized a lot of us go through similar situations. I think that was the most important. I think when I first started, I felt like I was the only one dealing with people pleasing, not feeling good enough, fear, hesitation. But a lot of women deal with that, right? And some of them just hit a boiling point where they told themselves, enough is enough. I want to do something different and just kind of went for it. So we all hit a boiling point, right? When we think this is it, I can't take it anymore. I need something different. And you will go out there and find ways to do it. And also another thing I've found is that women really practice self-love, like really loving themselves, the good, bad, and the ugly. And it's important to have that unconditional self-love because if you want to attract the right people into your life, if you're only loving the good parts of yourself, then you're attracting the people who only want to love the good parts of you. And unconditional love is loving the good, bad, and the ugly, right? That's what makes you you, imperfect and beautiful at the same time.
Yeah, I like that. Imperfect and beautiful at the same time. How many years have you been doing the podcast and writing the book?
For the podcast has been around for a little over 10 years. The books, I started after the pandemic. We had a co-authored book called Asian Women Who Boss Up, which highlights the stories of 18 Asian women sharing their stories about, of course, bossing up in their life. And then it led me to write my two books with Wiley, which is The Tao of Self-Confidence, which is a book about learning to work through your traumas to show up as your best self because trauma plays a huge role in our life,
Yes.
especially in Asian culture. And that became a Wall Street Journal best-selling book. And then my latest book is Bridging the Confidence Gap. It's a leadership book for women. Actually, it's a leadership book for anybody. I just had a man who recently sent me a message telling me how the book really has helped him, right?
Yes.
And how it's changed his life and his perspective on things and realize like it's not too late for him to go out there and create something even though he's in his 60s. And it was really refreshing to see that because there's other people out there who always question me, like
Yeah.
especially with my first book, The Tao of Self-Confidence. A lot of people are like, well, how will that book relate to me? I'm not Asian. What like I'm not this, I'm not that. I'm like, it doesn't matter. Like, there's still stories there that you can resonate, right?
Yes.
And, we've been taught like you can't share your specific story because people won't understand. And that's really not true. It's important to share your specific story because you can't solve different problems by sharing the same story over and over again, right? Like they say, insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. If
Yeah.
you want to solve worldwide problems, you need stories from different perspectives, different cultures, different experiences. That's how we can get different solutions to problems. So, yeah, I mean, I was really shocked to have a book for Wiley, let alone two. Um,
Yeah.
Wiley's one of the top 5 like big publishers and it's been great. I've been grateful for that opportunity because it's allowed me to even dream bigger and realize, I can still accomplish so much more. I mean, being able to see my current book in the Philippines and the biggest bookstores was really cool. That for me, that's a big deal. I mean, I was born there and to see that so other women can like pick up a book, share it, read it, and really like help them see their own potential, especially in the Philippines, like it's much needed.
Yeah. And big congratulations to you. You inspire a lot of us, including me, right? And it's a big accomplishment. You are also one of the top 100 Filipinos to follow on LinkedIn. And I would just like to share the story how we connected because you posted something really empowering on LinkedIn and I commented on it or I liked it and you reached out and said thank you for engaging on my post and then that's how we connected and how I have realized wow your story is really empowering. You said show up as your best self. How do we do that?
It's about learning to work through your traumas, right? We all go through some form of trauma. And especially in Asian culture, we don't talk about it, right? We've been told not to share it, not to shame the family name. If we don't talk about it, it never existed. But that's not true, right? It's still going to show up in ways that will trigger us. So it's really important to be aware of the traumas that you've been through and find ways to work through it. Maybe it's childhood trauma, domestic trauma, sexual trauma, PTSD, even intergenerational trauma, right? We not only carry our own traumas, but the traumas of our parents, grandparents, and so on. They mentioned that intergenerational trauma goes 4 generations deep. I think being Asian, it goes way deeper. All those things take a huge it's a huge factor in your confidence journey, right? A lot of people kept asking me, "Well, how do you build confidence? How do you build confidence?" And instead of, giving them ways, I actually asked them a question back is, what's really holding you back from your confidence? And it stems down from your trauma. Like an example was, I failed kindergarten for coloring outside the lines of a photo in the Philippines. And, yeah, it sounds so ridiculous, but it's true. And, the teacher, I failed kindergarten, moved to another school to redo kindergarten all over again in the Philippines. And at 5 years
Yeah.
old, you don't know any better. But I didn't realize that also translated into my adult life. I felt like anything I launched, anything I touched, it would have been an instant failure. So I hesitated a lot. I delayed things a lot. I resisted a lot of things. And it wasn't until I attended a personal development seminar where I realized why I resisted was
Yeah.
because of that moment in kindergarten when I failed for coloring outside the lines. So, our trauma plays it plays a huge part and we're not aware of it and we don't even realize that's stopping us. And it's
Yeah.
probably a little bit deep, but it is important to get to the root cause in order to show up as our best self.
Yeah, I like that. Get to the root cause. That's very important. When a woman truly steps into her confidence, what kind of ripple effect have you seen in her career, in her community, and even the people around her?
Yeah, I mean, people get inspired by that person and then they take action themselves. Like I've had so many women send me messages, private messages, how they are able to shift their perspective, go after things, be able to create, things out of thin air. And that really gives me a lot of hope, right? Because for me, if I can inspire one person, I've done my job because you don't know how far that person can go. And it's
Yeah.
so important, to recognize that, like the impact that you have on that person.
Yeah. Sheena, as we celebrate International Women's Day, what message would you like to share with women who are still doubting themselves but are ready to take the next step toward their potential?
I think I'll go back to ready, fire, aim.
Yes.
Be okay to take imperfect action and you can course correct as you go. A lot of people always want to say, I'll do it when I feel ready. Guess what? You'll never feel ready. So you just do it at that moment. And you
Yeah,
don't have to do it alone, right? There's resources, people that can help you get there.
I love that. And what message would you like to say to yourself?
I guess keep moving forward because there's days where I don't feel like moving forward or I feel like, I doubt myself because again, I'm not perfect. I'm human and we all go through it. So yeah.
Yeah, I like that. Yes. Confidence doesn't mean having all the answers or being perfect. Just be authentic. Just show up as your best self. Address the root causes of your trauma and show up, right?
Yes.
Thank you so much, Sheena, for this opportunity to speak with you and learn from you. Please share the links later on the podcast. I will also share the links so people could learn more and be empowered, especially women like us from the Asian culture and all across the globe.
Thank you so much for having me.
Of course, it's my pleasure. Thank you so much for being with us today. It has been a great pleasure speaking with Sheena Yap Chan. As we close this special episode of Life Expressions on International Women's Day, remember this: confidence doesn't mean having all the answers. It means having the courage to own your story, speak your truth, and allow yourself to be seen. When women step into their voice and define success on their own terms, something powerful happens. We don't just transform our own lives, we inspire others to rise as well. I'm your host, Chari Hinati Elon on Life Expressions. Till next time, don't forget to be a positive impact wherever you are, in all that you do, however you can.